Hey y'all, you got Doug Gord, how you do with Cajun Soft Wash. Today I want to talk about faulty GFIs. I had a question about a faulty GFI, and I see online a lot of times where people are talking about a faulty GFI. This is not a GFI. I apologize because I don't have one. However, I think I can still get my point across. For those of you that don't know, the GFI is the one that has the little test and reset button in here. So it'll be kind of a square shape, and then it'll have like a little red button and a black button, a test and a reset button. Okay, so I see a lot of people blaming the GFI that smolders out. Well, the GFI is supposed to protect from the water getting down inside and all that. That's not true. Okay, so the GFI is basically like a breaker, for lack of a better term. So here I kind of have it set up how it goes. Okay, so if you look at this is a breaker that would be back at your electrical panel, right? And so what happens is when a breaker trips, this basically this goes about halfway. It doesn't go all the way. It trips and it shuts power off to the wires, right? That goes back to your receptacle. So when you're talking about a GFI is essentially like a breaker, but at the receptacle itself, okay? So what it's for, if we look at the breaker back at the main box, when this power shuts off at the main box, it shuts the power off to the wire, which shuts it off to the GFI. The GFI, in other words, is for whatever you have plugged into the device, okay? So it trips power and it breaks power to whatever you're plugged into, okay? So you basically have two areas of protection with the GFCI. GFI, GFCI. So GFI is ground fault interrupter, and that's what they used to be called. Now they're called GFCIs, ground fault circuit interrupter. The correct terminology nowadays is GFCI, but we all still call them GFIs. So again, the little test and reset button right here, it's meant for the power for here, okay? But when the water gets back behind the receptacle and it goes down, if it gets in contact with this wire, this black wire, which is the power supply, okay, it can get in touch with either of these two, the white wire or the ground wire, okay? Either one will create a cross circuit that will then start to smolder and smoke. Now, theoretically, if there's enough, like if these two wires were to touch, they're supposed to go back and trip this breaker. Okay, that's what should happen if the water gets across here. But if it's not a real good circuit, you don't like the wires touching together, it may or may not trip this breaker on this other side. We actually had that happen ourselves with a church where it was smoldering pretty good. And even when I touched a screwdriver across the two, trying intently to trip the breaker because nobody had any idea which one it was, it wouldn't trip. So they had a fault in the system. The GFCI is not going to shut off just because you get water back behind here. Its purpose is to protect this plug. It's not to protect these wires. Okay, that's the main point that I want to make. The GFCI with the test and reset button is to protect this. The breaker back at the main panel is meant to protect the GFI. Okay, getting the water back behind here and the arcing and the sparking and the smoke that goes on means nothing to the GFI itself. So I appreciate y'all for listening to me, and Dougie, you out.